You are watching Roll a Mile in My Shoes TV.
Emmett Louis Till was born July 25th, 1941, to his mother, Mamie Till Mobley. His family lived in Money, Mississippi, where at the age of 14 in the summer of 1955, he decided he wanted to go spend time with his cousins down in Money, Mississippi. But him living in Chicago for all of his life didn't know the rules and prejudice, so to speak, in the South, especially in Mississippi. In the summer of 1955, he decided, after begging his mother many times, she decided to let him go to Mississippi to spend the summer with his cousins. And she told him, be safe. And he gave her his watch and said, you can keep it. I won't need it where I'm going. And I guess him being a kid, he meant that he wouldn't need it because he didn't have to use his watch to tell time, because he was going to be so busy having fun playing with his cousins, as most kids his age did, being 14, especially at that time. So when he got to Mississippi after him being there for a little while, one day him and his cousins decided to go into the Bryant's grocery store, which is where he came into meeting, at the time, her name being Carolyn Bryant. That will be the lady who basically sent him to his death at the hands of her husband and brother-in-law, because she lied on Emmett and said that he whistled at her and supposedly touched her. And I think back then there were rules in the deep South, most of the South anyway, that black people were not supposed to make hand-to-hand or any kind of contact, physical contact, with white people. So apparently when he was in the store paying for his items, his cousins were outside waiting for him to pay for his items and come out of the store. And so they left, and then they went about their day. And I think it was either that night or the next day, the Bryant man, which is J.W. Milam, and the other brother, the other man, I can't remember his name, which they don't really matter at this point. They came looking for Emmett because they said that he had crossed the line and he needed to be taught a lesson, quote unquote. And as you can see here, this is the white woman that said that he touched her and whistled at her and made that, basically leading to his death. And so now, without going through the whole other parts of the story, 70 plus years later, his family finds a warrant with her former last name on it, signed by officials, stating that the warrant is legit, but she was never served the warrant. So now my question is to everyone who has already heard the story, and to those of you who have not heard the story about the warrant being found in a courthouse basement with cobwebs over the box, hidden under a bunch of other boxes with dead bugs on top of it. Because after all these years, that's kind of what you expect. My question to you all is, what do you think? Do you think she's going to face any punishment after all these years? Because I think she's in her late 80s, early 90s. I don't know by now. So do you think she's going to face any punishment? And if so, what do you think her punishment will be? What do you think her punishment should be? And do you think that if she does face punishment, will this bring some kind of justice to Emmett Till and his family? And do you think that this will make his mother's fight not be in vain, as she had hoped in her last days that her son's killer or killers, because in my opinion there are three plus some, because if you think about all the people that were in law enforcement that had connections to this case to let this happen to this boy, do you think they should be tried? Because I'm pretty sure that some of them, if you go back far enough, you can find a couple of them that are still living, possibly, and even some of their grandkids that were very young. I'm pretty sure they heard their grandparents bragging about killing a little black boy, which they didn't call him that, but I'm not going to use the actual racist term that they called him. But I'm pretty sure they heard their grandparents and probably great grandparents bragging about killing little black boys. Do you think that Carol Bryant should be charged with this murder, because it was her who initially let this happen or made this happen? And even though her husband and her brother-in-law are dead, do you think that the case file should be, I guess, redone or whatever to reflect that, they are guilty, because they did admit to this years later in a magazine article that they did kill him. Now, for those of you who don't know, he was found days later in the Tallahatchie River with the cotton gin fan wrapped around his neck, and he was brutally beaten. And I mean, the photos themselves are bad enough to where you can see the marks and the cuts and everything on his face. He was so badly beaten to where the coroner had told his mother that she didn't want to see him like that, because back then, although we do have plastic surgeons now that are good with like making certain victims of certain deaths look like their former selves or something close to it. When you look at those pictures of him in his casket and him still lying on the table in the funeral home, you can see that they tried to do their best to cover up what was done, but it was only so much they could do, as it not being plastic surgery not being something that was, done often or in those cases back then. But they tried to make him look as decent as possible. And I mean, you could see the pain on his mother's face as she saw her son lying there looking nothing like she remembered him when he was alive, of course. But I just want to know, what do you all think about them finding this warrant after all this time? Do you think Carolyn Bryant should be served with this warrant? Do you think she should be taken to prison and serve out the rest of her days there? Let me know what you guys think. But thank you all for listening to this video, and please remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment your opinion in the comments to let me know what you all think. See you guys next time.